everyone. It is time for the VanDyk Mortgage, North Grove Brewers, and Shepherd Power Hour here from North Grove Brewers. Welcome aboard. I'm John Russell, along with Michael Taylor over there on the far right. We thought we would get Mike way over there and see if it would improve the ratings at all. And then we got Scotty Camp over here on the left side.
Did you have to separate us this week?
Well, you know what? And our special guest is Gary Hogeboom, and I really am worried about that table because you have a Western Michigan University guy and you got a CMU guy, so we might have to be breaking up a fight here before too long.
So what's this stuff for in the middle here?
That's for the winner of that fight, I think.
That's what Gary's going to need to drink before the show.
Hey, two great back schools. Well, hey, welcome aboard, Jim. Great to have you here, man.
Great to be here. I appreciate it.
Well, let's kind of start out with things. Let's start at the beginning. You'll take you all the way back to your childhood there in Grand. You'll take you all the way right back to your childhood there in Grand. What was growing up like? I mean, with mom, dad, Rapids native, right?
Yeah, Grand.
Athletic right from the start.
Yeah. Rapids went to North Grove High School. Yes.
What was growing up like? I mean, with mom, dad, and
At Michigan Tech, and so we just did everything. You know, just like.
I mean, I'm assuming athletic
And you had a blast.
right from the start.
Yeah. I had. Were off, where you couldn't see. Three older. Yeah. Great experience. They were all very good family and had athletes and my dad friends over at the northeast side.
So what's your second?
So we just did everything, you know, just like, you know, when you went from sport to sport, and you had a blast, and you never came in until, you know, the lights were off, and you could see, and yeah, great upbringing, love my family, and had a lot of great friends over at the northeast side of Grand Rapids.
So what you're saying is there was no type A personalities in your family growing up. You had to overcome all those.
In football, right?
Yeah, I played basketball, football, played a year of tennis, and played a year of baseball, and then ran track 2 years. So, yeah, my claim to fame in basketball is I was on the same all-star team as Magic Johnson in high school.
Oh.
So, you know, but love basketball and love football.
So he always tells that he was on the same high school.
I doubt he even knows. I doubt he even knows.
I remember hearing him talk about you going, I don't know how he didn't make it in the NBA.
Oh, that's funny stuff.
Talk to us about your Northview years, high school. Obviously, you had success to get everybody's eyes, but what was the team like?
You know, I was a real late mature. I was 92 pounds coming out of 8th grade, and grew a ton my freshman and sophomore year. Slower individual. I wasn't blessed with great speed. I think that really helped me out because I had to work harder and be smarter in all my sports. We had a lot of great athletes in our class, and we did well in basketball and we did well in football. That was the first year of the state playoffs, and basketball was my senior year, and we missed it by 1 point against Jenison the last game, but we had a great time.
You know, when you look back on your basketball career, and it's so funny, Gary, with so many people, they look back and go, well, you know, if I had to play, it's not so much football, not so much baseball, but when you look at basketball, you look back and go, I should have shot a hell of a lot more than I did. You know, we'd have been better off if I'd have shot.
No, I shot enough, believe me. Yeah, just a great high school basketball. Like right now, I love high school basketball. I love going to games and seeing the kids work. It's just a great atmosphere, just like high school football.
Now, going over to CMU, can you kind of describe what that experience was like, you know, being recruited and just how that whole thing was and maybe how that's different now? I know, and we'll get into it now where you're at with the Sport House and how you can help young people that way, but just how much has recruiting changed that you're thinking from when you did it to now?
Wow. First of all, I didn't get offered a full ride to Central Michigan until Roy Kramer saw me play basketball. That's when he offered me a full ride. And I was only recruited by Western and Central and a couple of Ivy League schools. And, you know, Central just seemed like a good fit to me. You didn't travel. There was no commitment. You know, you just signed a letter and you went. You know, so times have changed drastically, which is awesome for kids. And they're bigger, faster, stronger right now, and they're getting more looks. And so the game's changed, the recruiting's changed, and I believe all for the good.
You know, you came into Central Michigan not long after they won a national championship up there.
They won. They were in Division II and won a national championship in '74.
Right.
And then my first year was '76, and they were Division I. And first game I was ever in was up at Northern Michigan, who was still Division II, and they were the national champions, and they kicked our butt that year.
Well, that year they had Maurice Mitchell, who went with the Chiefs, and Skip Ponder,
yes,
who was a defensive.
And they had a quarterback that coached in the NFL for a few years.
Yeah. Well, and again, was it Frankowiak was the quarterback before you?
Yeah, Frankowiak was the quarterback of the national championship team, and then Ron Rummel out of Saginaw Arthur Hill was there when I got there.
Yep.
So,
yep.
yeah.
And when you made that transition from Northview to Central Michigan, the speed of the game, because you've made the steps from middle school to high school to Division I college and then into the NFL. What did you think about making those steps and the speed of the game from even middle school to high school and high school to Central Michigan?
Yeah, it's just amazing how fast and how quick as you go up that ladder athletes get. And, just the transition, obviously we had some great athletes in high school that were my teammates that went on to play some ball, but everybody's fast in college if you're at a skilled position outside of the offensive and defensive line, and they're all fast too.
Well,
so it's just crazy.
It is, and I remember seeing a defensive tackle named Jeff Freitag, and Jeff was probably one of the best high school athletes you'd ever see. And when he got into college football, it didn't take him long, and he was talking out of his ear hole because they rearranged his head kind of, Yeah. And oh my gosh, but he did a great job, Today he's living under a shell somewhere down in the Hudson Bay, I think,
Yeah, a lot of great athletes, a lot of speed and quickness and strength, and then making the jump, into the NFL, it's just magnified that much. But it's all fun though.
While you're at CMU, you put some pretty good numbers up that still are in the record books there, or were for a long time anyhow, as far as passing. But also, I believe you led the team to you and your teammates to the first MAC championship, MAC title in school's history. Yeah,
we were undefeated. My senior year, we had a great team, a great staff. We got along great, and it was something I'll never forget. And a lot of great games, and I always say, my favorite position on a football team is offensive line. You got to build that offensive line, and obviously we had a great offensive line and we had a great defense, and it's just team football at its best.
When you made the transition, being recruited by Uncle Roy Kramer, went down and became commissioner, down in the SEC, I believe. Yes. Was down there, but then Herb Duramity takes over. Yeah. Herb was the defensive coordinator for a few years there for Roy, and then, what was that transition like for you?
Probably the best thing that ever happened to me was Herb Duramity getting the job. Great guy, great with the players. We had a great relationship. I still talk to him every once in a while. He's still living up at Mount Pleasant, and super guy, and we had a great coaching staff. We had Ty Willingham. He was first year out of state coaching our defensive backs, and I could go on. All the coaches were super and did a great job.
And you would think, it's like with your father up in the UP. We always looked at it in the MAC. Even coaching at Western, how do these guys do such a good job? Because here's the catch: for so long, Central Michigan, they hung their hat on the fact they only recruited in-state athletes.
Yes.
You didn't go out, their motto was, we can find winners right here in this state, and we're going to win with them. We're going to win with them,
Yes, yeah.
And they did that for years.
Yeah, and you got to give them credit. They recruited Michigan hard, and they were proud of that, and we won with that.
Oh my gosh, you did.
Yeah, and now just because the way the game's changed and recruiting's changed, they recruit everywhere. Just like everybody.
But, and what enticed so many athletes to go to Mount Pleasant and play in that environment? There's no big city around.
No, I mean, there was cornfields. It's changed considerably since I was there. But
everybody was in your dorm room back then, too.
That's right. Yeah, it was. Central was a great time and great 4 years. So.
All right, what we'll do is we'll take a break here, I'm told, and then we'll be back and continue the journey with Gary Hogeboom of Central Michigan, Grand Rapids, Dallas Cowboys, and the resume goes on. We'll be back right after this.
You know, we started in 1987, July of 1987. The company was founded here in Grand Rapids, Michigan. We recruited Mario in to join our company as one of our branches to serve the Muskegon community. He has grown to 5 locations, serving people up and down the lake shore.
A lot of companies, they're sometimes in it more for themselves and closing that deal for just the monetary reward. And I think with Mario and his company, it's not just that, and I don't know if that always happens in our world.
Back here, John Russell along with Scott DeCamp, Mike Taylor, and of course Gary Hogeboom, our guest. We're at North Grove Brewers here in Montague. Want to thank, of course, VanDyk Mortgage and Shepherd & Shepherd. Well, as you're journeying through college, one more thing I wanted to ask about that, just in terms of one thing that we always ask kind of kids that are going to school, and sounds like you were obviously on top of your schoolwork, even in high school and things like that. So I'm assuming that the transition wasn't too bad, but what was that like, you know, balancing schoolwork, trying to get your degree and all that stuff, and athletics?
Yeah, you know, it has to be a priority. I wouldn't say that it was one of my top priorities, but I loved, I got my real estate license in college. So I took a lot of real estate finance and investment classes, so I like that aspect. And, you know, I'm still in real estate now. Yeah. And so, you know, getting my license in college and taking classes from a professor that was an active investor and entrepreneur was phenomenal for me personally. And those are the classes I focused on, and obviously I use them still today.
At what point did the thought of the NFL actually become kind of a reality?
Junior year at Northview.
No, no. You know, I always wanted to be a pro football player. That was my dream as a kid. And, you know, realistically, not until going into my senior year, I thought I had a chance maybe to get looked at. Maybe a far-out chance to maybe be a free agent someplace. And that's what I thought going into the draft. But obviously, I worked out for Dan Reeves at Grand Rapids Community College. I was getting letters from Dallas and some other teams.
And Reeves was a running back coach at the time for the Cowboys.
Reeves was a running back and quarterback coach.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, great guy. He just passed away. Had a great.
All right.
Yeah, really super guy. He said, "Hey, I can't make it to Central Michigan, but can we meet someplace in between? Because I'm going to be at Notre Dame looking at Rusty Lish." I said, "Hey, I know the coach. Rod Huntsberger was my neighbor, and so we used a practice field at CC. Got a receiver from CC. It was junior college then, and a week later they drafted me, so that was good."
What are your greatest memories from your 10-year NFL career? I mean, I've seen this movie 3 times now, but American Underdog, the Kurt Warner story.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that yet. I'm not saying your story is that story. Yours was different, but
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is, Gary. Just
Mike. So no, just what was that ride like for you?
You know, I had a great time everywhere I was at. I obviously didn't accomplish a lot of things that I wanted to, but I had some major injuries in the years I was playing, and you know, I was 6'4", 200 pounds, and that's not too beefy. But a great time. I had a lot of great memories. Had a lot of great friends. Every place I played, I loved. And I just loved the game of football. I loved practicing it. I loved studying. I loved watching film. And, you know, the people you meet and the things you learn that you can take into your life after football is just phenomenal.
Did you watch the Cowboys game over the weekend and the final play?
I did.
Thoughts?
Oh, you know, you know, that play obviously didn't lose it for them. They just weren't mentally tough enough to do the things that need to be done in the NFL to win. You know, I mean, it's a tough league, and when you make a lot of mistakes, you usually don't come out on the right side. So.
Take us back to draft day, 1980, NFL. Like you said, you had to work out a little bit with the Dallas Cowboys, so you knew there was some interest there.
Yeah.
But as you're sitting at home, I mean, now it's ESPN and all that type of stuff, a little bit different back then, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a lot different. I was at a baseball game, Central Michigan baseball. They had a great baseball program, Dean Kylitz and the crew. And I got a phone
Over
call.
at Kylitz Field?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. I got a phone call from the New York Giants, and they said, hey, if you don't get drafted, we want to sign you as a free agent. And I said, hey, we'll talk.
Yeah.
And then I was in my dorm room, and my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, Christy, says, hey, you got a phone call, and it was Dallas. And they just said, hey, we drafted you in the 5th round. Congratulations, we'll call you later.
Now, just to paint the picture of Dallas, the legend Roger Staubach. Now he just retired the year before, or was 79 his last year, or
he retired.
Okay.
Yep. So he was not there when I came in. It was Danny White and Glenn Carano and 5 other rookies.
okay.
Yeah.
So you already knew that Staubach, the deck was cleared there, huh?
Yeah. Yep. Great guy. We used to go over to his house all the time and play basketball. He was still really active. He was in real estate down there also. And so Danny was the starter when I went down to him.
What kind of things, Gary, do you recall having conversations, not so much with Danny White, but with Roger Staubach about your approach to entering the NFL and how to approach training camp?
Yeah, didn't really talk with Roger a lot about that, just because he was, his career was over. He was out doing his thing, and whenever we saw him, it was like in a competitive, we're going to play 2-on-2 basketball or something like that. But all the quarterbacks were great and shared experience with you as far as what to do. I would say Dan Reeves was probably the biggest influence on that, saying, as a rookie coming in and sitting you down and, kind of mentoring you and doing that.
When you think back to at that time, John, and going in the NFL, okay, it was an interesting transition because you're going from kind of like the old school guard coaches, the Tom Landrys, the Hank Strams, the Lombardis, and some of the, it evolved now into some new coaches, but having an opportunity to play for Tom Landry, I mean, that man had seen, it's like George Halas. They covered an era of football that is so vast,
Yeah. So they asked me to graduate early up at Central to go to quarterback school. I fly down to Dallas. I go up to the top floor of the Cowboys organization. I go into a conference room with all the Super Bowl trophies. I sit down and I'm, they give me a notebook about this high, and I'm going through it, and a guy walks in. He's got a great big cigar, handlebar mustache, and he sits next to me and he elbows me and he said, listen, rookie, you got one job, and that's to keep me awake in this meeting. Mike Ditka. And then Dan Reeves comes in, then Gene Stallings comes in, then Armstrong comes in, and then, every coach was just a legend. Yeah. And then Landry comes in, and it's so there was a lot of knowledge in that room, and hopefully I learned a lot of stuff from all those great men to mentorship and take it into my life.
Did you raise your hand and go, hey, Dick is sleeping? Dick is sleeping. I want to point this out right now.
No, I never did that. I was a little smarter.
Hey, we'll talk later, Dick says.
That's right. Yeah, good guy, a great guy.
Well, you come in at interesting time because obviously Staubach is gone.
Yeah.
Danny White's there, but you had to feel at that time. It wasn't like he had established his career either. He's fighting for a job. You guys are more on a competitive edge of thing of working for the number 1 position, right?
Well, that's what I would have hoped for. Landry met with me day 1 and said, just so you know, I don't play any rookie quarterbacks until after 3 years.
Oh, wow.
And so Danny White had been there 4 years behind Roger, and Glenn Carano had been there. So he just said, hey, your job is to learn and absorb as much as you can.
No matter how much
no matter what happened, yeah.
Wow.
But did you feel, Gary, that at that time with him making that comment to you, that was somewhat of a commitment that you were going to be in that program for those 3 years?
Obviously, you absorb that and you look at it, and as a competitor, you're saying, dang, man, that's not what you want to hear, but true. He was saying, hey, we want you to learn the right way that he thought. Obviously not the way it is today, but that was his philosophy. And I had 5 other rookies that were trying to make the team. The Heisman winner from the Canadian college was there, and I mean, we had 5 good rookies, so I was just totally focused on making the team. Because just because you're drafted doesn't mean you're going to make the team.
Right.
So
Right.
All good stuff and good experiences.
Well, and you must watch I don't know, when I sit there and watched Kyler Murray last week getting tackled in the end zone, and then I'm sure he made the organization proud when he just tossed the ball up in the air and it gets, a pick six.
They had a tough game.
And you think this guy's, okay, he's kind of got it down, and then he does something like that.
Yeah.
So do you ever get past that curve?
Obviously, you watch Brady play a game and Rodgers play a game. Those guys are really on top of it. I think, Kyler, he's such a great competitor. He's trying to make something happen, and they're down. And obviously, that was a poor decision. But, just the offense just wasn't doing anything.
Right.
So he's trying to make plays, and obviously that wasn't a good decision. But he's going to be a good one.
So, Gary, there are a lot of, obviously, Detroit Lions fans in this state, suffering Detroit Lions fans. What is the margin for error in the NFL back from when you played, but even especially now, how far away or how close is a team like the Detroit Lions?
Wow. Detroit struggled.
It's an hour show, Gary.
Yeah, really. Detroit has struggled. Obviously, they've had some great athletes. I've played for organizations that have a phenomenal organization all the way down and great leadership. And I've also played for some organizations that struggled in that area. It's just like a business. You have to be cohesive and working together from the top down. And I hope for the sake of the fans and the players that they somehow figure this out. It's been a while. But it sounds like they're trying to make some good decisions. And obviously the head coach is passionate. And
he bites kneecaps.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. I think maybe it's going to be a little brighter in the future than it has been, and that would be nice for, you want teams to win. You don't want them to struggle as long as they have.
When you talk about, selecting a team in the NFL, how important is the general manager for a football organization in the NFL?
Well, I'm a firm believer in that leadership has to be strong from the top down. And if you have a strong leader at general manager and you have a strong leader at coach, then good things are going to happen.
And that's why his real estate business is a success. Okay? From the top down.
Oh, that's due to my son, Jake. He's more into real estate, I'm more into fitness. Thank goodness it's that way.
Well, you said Coach Landry kind of put you on that 4-year plan. It wasn't your plan, it was his. But funny things happen. 1982, Danny White goes out with a concussion in a playoff game of all things, and all of a sudden, the kid from Grand Rapids gets a chance, right?
Yeah, I had attempted 9 passes that whole year. And all of a sudden, I'm in the championship game, down 2 touchdowns. And
what'd they say to you? Come here, kid.
They just said, you're up. You're in. So that was fun. Threw a couple touchdown passes to Drew Pearson was my first one, who's now in the Hall of Fame. Great guy. And then I had a ball tipped, returned for a touchdown, and didn't end up right, but I had a blast, and I got my feet wet. And at that point, I said, "Wow, I can do it."
But when you step in a huddle, okay, he's out, White's out.
Yeah.
And you walk in that huddle, and there's that whole offensive line, and those 10 guys are looking at you. What was said in the huddle?
Oh, I said, hey, it's time to kick some ass. You got to be totally confident when you're in the huddle and you're talking to, 10, 11-year veterans.
Yes.
Who are studs. They've seen it all, and they're looking to you to have confidence. And they can tell immediately if you don't have confidence. And just like any, you can tell an athlete that doesn't have confidence. So you have to be on top of your game, and you have to be mentally strong, and you got to be ready to roll whenever it's called. In any professional league, but especially football, when at a quarterback position, when it's time to roll.
That's great. And I know,
It was fun.
looking at him in the huddle, I know that you're looking at him going, fellas, there's a new sheriff in town right now. You know?
Yeah.
We'll take a quick break here and come back and talk a little bit more football and life with Gary Hogeboom here. We'll take a break.
Since I started brewing, I fell in love with the industry, the people of the industry, and just how craft beer brings people together. The community has really accepted us, and really we made this place to create our clubhouse pretty much, where we want to hang out and we have the beers we want to drink and the stuff we want to do, and we really hope that the community would just be of that same mindset and want to come here too and have fun, and they sure have.
Here at North Grove Brewers in Montague, want to thank, of course, North Grove and VanDyk Mortgage, and also Shepherd and Shepherd. We're talking with Gary Hogeboom. And Gary, from that point on, when White goes out with a concussion and comes back, all of a sudden I would think all bets are off on the, hey, wait till 4 years. I mean, all of a sudden that truly does become a competition between two guys. I guess my second part of that question on top of that is, what was your relationship like with a guy that you're competing for a job with?
Yeah, me and Danny got along really good, probably up to the point where I was in the pros and reporters would ask me questions and I said, yeah, I want to play. I don't want to sit the bench. Right. And I think maybe that might have bothered him a little. Still a good guy. I went bear hunting with him in Colorado, and went fishing up at his house north of Dallas.
Right.
So very, very friendly, and when you're competing for a job, it's life.
Yeah.
And we went back and forth for a few years, and had some good stuff, and learned along the way, and then it was time to move on.
Well, one thing that was interesting was, didn't the players actually kind of lobby for you to be the starting quarterback a little bit?
It was crazy times. Texas football is crazy, and Dallas football is crazy.
Yeah.
There was all kinds of things going on, and I was just trying to focus on being the best football player I could and teammate. That made it kind of hard. But it was all, it was all good competition, I think, and we attacked it every day.
And what were the off seasons like when you first started? Because you hear so many stories about, well, Mel Farr and those guys had to go sell cars in the summer, and to make ends meet, and the money back then wasn't like it is today.
Yeah.
And the other thing we got to think about, and you and I were just talking about it on the break, is that is about the time. When you were coming into Central Michigan and through that phase is when strength and conditioning really took off with athletes.
Yeah.
Okay, and the strength and conditioning was more geared sports specific. It wasn't like, we grew up, it was, our cores were good.
Yeah.
Okay, but now it became sports specific training.
Yeah, so our off seasons with the Cowboys, we played basketball. Organizations would pay us to go around the state of Texas and Louisiana to play them in a charity game. And so we had a 50-game schedule. Jay Saldi and Drew Pearson were in charge of it. And if you were good enough, you'd get an invite to play in some of those games. So I did play in quite a few of those games.
Did you go, I played against Magic Johnson,
And had a blast. You just had to know who to pass to, in order to get an invite. But yeah, the off seasons, and obviously the pay is way differently. My rookie contract was $35,000. So you had to definitely be on top of your game and be thinking about what's going to happen if you don't play football.
Right.
Because you didn't. It's not like you signed a contract and everything was kosher the rest of your life.
Sure.
But it was fun, and we did start working out. Bob Ward was our conditioning coach, and he was a legend. Just passed away, but a great guy, and he really was on the edge of everything. And Dallas down there, the Cooper Institute of Health and Fitness. So we had access to a lot of stuff, and a lot of new things were happening, and we worked out every day. There was no off season.
Were they worried about, because of that 50-game schedule, you're like, look here, fellas, we're a little nervous about this, participating in another sport, you know, and remember your bread and butter's here.
Oh,
about an injury, you know.
Yeah, you know, the coaches that never said anything to us about playing basketball. I don't remember anybody ever getting hurt, thank goodness, or they probably would have. But yeah, they knew that everybody had to make some extra cash, I think.
Right.
And Landry was a player, and Reeves was a player, and Stahl, you know, they all were players. You know, Jim Schaffner, who was one of the coaches I loved, he was a quarterback coach for me. He was an all-pro punter and defensive back, starting defensive back for Cleveland. And he went into Paul Brown and asked for a $500 raise, and he kicked him out of the office and said, "Get out of here! I'm not giving you a penny." You know, so I think they all realized that.
That's where Ditka learned it.
That's exactly what they.
Well, you were,
So when football was done, what was next in your life? And I actually, what I really want to know is, I want to jump ahead a little bit. Is
Yeah.
you talk about survival of the fittest, being a pro athlete. You know where I'm going with it.
Yeah.
Survivor. How did that ever materialize?
Well, when I retired, we moved to Traverse City, and I did youth ministry work and some real estate developing, and then fast forward to when my youngest daughter was in second grade, and I had my 3 older sisters. I told you I had. My oldest sister. She called me up the day before Easter 15 years ago and said, "Hey, we're gonna apply for the Amazing Race, Family Edition." And I go, "I don't like that show. I'm not going on that show." And she goes, "No, we're gonna make a video tomorrow." So Easter comes, they make the video, they send it in, and the next week I get a call from CBS, and they said, "Hey, we saw your video. We don't want you for Amazing Race, but would you think about going on Survivor?" And I said, "That's the only show I watch." And I asked my daughter, I said, "Hey, what do you think?" And she goes, "Heck yeah." So they were down to the final 50 out of 200,000 applicants. I had to make a video. I made a great video, and then I had to fly to LA for.
But what do you put on a video?
It was wintertime, and I had a John Deere tractor with a front end loader on it, and I made a big pile of snow, and I dug a hole in the middle of it. And I just had a bathing suit on. I buried myself in the snow. And Jamie, who's my youngest daughter, and a neighbor came out of the house throwing snowballs at my face. And my other daughter was filming and says, "What are you guys doing?" And Jamie turns around and says, "We're getting Dad tough for Survivor." And I jumped out of the snowbank with just my shorts on and jumped on my tractor and said, "See you in LA." So, yeah, so I guess that drew their attention, and I had to go out there for 7 days of testing, IQ tests, all kinds of tests, and then they said, "We'll call you in 2 weeks if you're in the final 18.
And then they offered you.
In Guatemala, yeah.
They offered you a producer's job.
did they have any inkling that you were who you were, that you were a former athlete?
They knew who I was.
Oh, did they?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So you went to Guatemala.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you've probably seen the movie or heard the movie Fight Club. What happens in Fight Club stays in Fight Club. Is it same thing with Survivor? You're not allowed to really talk about that stuff much?
Oh, no. Well, you're not allowed to talk about it until it hits the TV, you know. But it was real. There was no food. I ate acorns. We drank dirty water. You had to boil everything. I lost 30 pounds in 30 days. Slept on the ground. Got bit by scorpions. Had tarantulas on you. Yeah, it's not fake.
Sort of like a weekend at Taylor's house.
Does that happen up at Stony Lake?
No comment.
I was going to say our managing partners out in the audience right now, we have a tactical meeting every month, We had it in Grand Rapids this morning in Walker, and we do this weigh-in competition, and my weight was up this time, so I'm like, maybe I need to be shipped off to some faraway area.
You need to come down to Sport House.
All right, we want to get to that too as well, because that sounds like you're doing some really great stuff there too.
Thank you.
Yeah, talk to us, I guess, a life after football. I'll back up to the point where your football career's coming to an end. I mean, you're a free agency. One thing I did want to go revisit on football a little bit was you were a part of 2 strike seasons, right?
Yes, I was.
I mean, talk about that dynamic a little bit.
Wow. So the first strike was a lockout, and that I had blown my elbow out the week before the lockout, and hyperextended it, and so fortunately for me, it gave me a little time to heal, even though it didn't heal properly. But that was really interesting. And then the second strike, I was in Indianapolis, and I played. And the reason I played was because in my contract, when Dallas signed me to the contract, they specifically said I wasn't allowed to strike.
Wow.
And the union wasn't backing my contract. Gene Upshaw would not back my contract. And so I told the team, I said, hey, I'm a total team player, and it was tough to do, but I signed the contract, and so I felt that I should play. And we ended up winning the games, but I did break a rib and puncture a lung during one of the games, but oh well, just another injury.
Yeah. How were you welcomed back when the guys came back? Did they understand all of that, or was there some hard feelings here and there?
So we had a ton of meetings before the strike, and I was up front and told them exactly what was going on, and talked to a whole lot of players, and it was still a tough situation because we were striking for free agency, and a lot of players thought there should be more health benefits for players for injuries, and obviously, you do what you think is right in situations like that. It was tough. I'm not gonna lie to you. When I had to cross the line going to the Indianapolis Colts workplace, and the unions, the local unions were laying in front of throwing stuff at my car, and then playing in Buffalo when we had death threats. It wasn't an easy thing, and I understand unions, and you support a lot of things, and you disagree with other things, but it happened, and it was experiences that made me a stronger individual in my life.
When we talk about the NFL and after college, even in college, I hate to say it, but specifically the NFL, it's a business, okay?
Yes.
And nobody knows it more than you. But at what point Gary, did you look at this and say, okay, I'm starting to get the business side of it now. You're going to pay me $35,000. I'm going to put my whole life on the line here, going out there and letting people line up and hit me. What point did you sit there and say, was it year 2, 3, you're going, okay, I know for me to be fully vested as an NFL player, I need how many years to get a pension from the NFL and the league?
Yeah, 4 years.
Yeah. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
4 years back then? I know today it's like 5 3/4 or 6.
It's 3 and a couple of games.
Is it?
Yeah, so it's kind of.
And so did you ever think about, okay, I got to get to that point right there at least, so I know I'm vested in this league?
As an athlete and a competitor, and a young man, a lot of young men feel they're indestructible and they think it's going to last forever.
Was that you?
And that was definitely me. You think, you're there, you're working, you're doing everything you can to be the best you can, and you don't ever think something's going to happen to you.
Right.
Now I do remember I did my own contract when I was with the Indianapolis Colts, so I negotiated with Bob Irsay, and that was a whole story in itself. But that's when I really learned about the business side of it and how tough it is, and kind of said, hey, this is really happening. But still, you don't think there's going to be an end, because you just think you can play a long time. And fortunately, I played 11 years, but I played through a lot of injuries and a lot of pain, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. But those things happen, and you just keep trying to get better.
Well, and look at the change in equipment.
Oh.
I mean, we talk about the CTE and the way the equipment. I mean, you look at some of those guys out there playing today. They must have only 1.5 pounds of equipment on their body, because I've never seen knee pads on half the guys. Hip pads, it's just, and the helmets now have changed so much from the old suspension helmets.
Oh, absolutely.
And where your head just rattles around in those things.
Yeah.
And
I've had a couple concussions, and it's part of the game, and that's what you signed on for, and If it happens, it happens. That's sad. Obviously it's hurt some players more than others, but I'm glad to see that the league is taking care of their players better than they used to.
And you look back though, and would you ever say, I'm glad I chose to take the football route as opposed to, you were good at other sports too,
Oh yeah,
I mean tennis. I mean
Yeah.
your height,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
you'd have been a phenomenal tennis player.
Yeah. I'm very blessed and pleased that football was my sport, and what a great sport to learn character and dedication and hard work and building young men.
Who was the disciplinarian in your family, your mom or your dad?
My dad.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mom would be like, "Don't get on Gary, let him."
No, she was tough too. No, my mom's tough too. Yeah.
Get off
had
him.
I had two tough parents, which is good. That's a good thing.
Now, a lot of people know your son too, Jake, and what's the dynamic like from you as an athlete to switching over to you wearing the father hat and trying to guide him and give him that advice? Obviously he played at Michigan State, played basketball there for a tough coach in his own right with Tom Izzo, and then obviously he went to Hope, but what was that whole dynamic like?
Yeah, Jake was a great athlete growing up, and we didn't push him at anything, but we did play hard, and he was a great passer and great vision, and so he had an experience at State. He was a walk-on the football team, and then also basketball. So that was a good experience for him, and some things he learned along the way. And now he grew At Home Realty, our real estate company. That was all him. I'm not an office guy. I'd rather be out in the field working. So credit him and his dedication and knowledge of people and treating people right that he learned along the way. And that's really what it is. It's this world is a people place. You got to communicate and treat people right, and work hard, and good things usually come to you.
No, those are our staples at CatchMark too, CatchMark SportsNet and CatchMark Technologies. And
Awesome.
I found it interesting when you're talking about leadership, and you talk about, be it the NFL, be it real estate, be it sport house, anything you've been involved in from the top down. I find that fascinating. That's an area that I'm really delving into now. And is it basically universal from what you've seen from one walk of life to another? It's those same kind of traits?
Yeah, the great thing about sports, and I'm going to say all sports, but me being specifically in football, I can relate more to the football side of it. The things you learn about working with a team and a family and respect and communication and hard work and also loving each other. It's just directly proportional to life and life in business and family and school. It's just a great way to. Now that doesn't mean you can't learn those things in other aspects like band or other thing like that. But my experiences in sports, and that's what life's about. First of all, life's short, and second of all, you got to respect people and you got to treat people right, and you usually get that in return.
And then, even in sports and in life, adversity, things aren't always going to go your way.
Oh,
and you got to know how to handle those down moments too.
Absolutely, yeah. You're going to get knocked down plenty of times, and you learn more from getting knocked down and getting and coming back stronger. I always told my kids growing up, and I coached all kinds of sports in high school throughout the years. Learn from every experience, whether it's good or bad. Coach yourself, be your coach, and learn from every experience. So if you did something wrong, you learn from it. If you did something right, learn from it.
How, having a career where you really had to battle for everything, you were never taken for granted you were going to be the starter, how well did that prepare you for getting out of football? I mean, I'm sure it's always a kick in the teeth when somebody says, we don't want you anymore. I mean, it's never the greatest way to go out, that sort of a thing, but was the way you had to handle your career with not taking anything for granted, did that help you with that transition?
Absolutely. When you have to fight for a position on a team, and you have to fight for respect, and you have to treat other individuals right, that helped me tremendously in business and coaching, and treating, the athletes that I coached and the people around me. Yeah, I love people, and I love finding out what makes people tick, and usually if a young kid is misbehaving, there's a reason for it, and you just have to find that out so you can help them.
Sure. You're involved, we talked about the real estate and everything, but one thing that interested in too is Sport House over in Norton Shores. You got involved in that. Obviously, physical fitness is important to you. That's another thing that your son and the family got involved in, right?
Yes.
Talk to us about that if you would.
Yeah, I love fitness, and I always wanted to own some type of gym. We owned a couple of boot camps along the way, and then when Norton Pines came available, a friend of ours owned it, and he said, hey, you and Jake would be great doing this. Why don't you come check it out? We looked at it, and we saw that the communities along the lakeshore kind of were separate and not really cohesive and working together and stuff. And we thought that would be a great facility to bring athletes and fitness together, so everybody along the lakeshore could learn that, hey, we're all one, and we can all get along. And we can do it in an environment where our kids are getting better, and we as adults are getting healthy and taking our fitness, because we only have one body for the rest of our life. We might as well treat it right. So I love it. I love being in a gym atmosphere in a workout facility every day, and it's people come in and they're trying to get better, and that's fun.
We talk about today's athlete, and you've had some experience coaching and everything like that, and we look around West Michigan, and in today's school settings, it's amazing how many kids come from one-parent homes.
Yes.
Okay, and it varies district to district, and you see, but you do see quite a bit of it, and the thing that reaches out to me is sometimes it's how the administration supports you when it comes to the discipline of kids. Okay, and getting them folks and realize we're not doing, the discipline is not something we're doing to you, it's for you. Yeah. Okay, and that's a challenge right now, and I look at the numbers. Football is a hard game to play. It's a sport you have to really commit to 12 months a year. What do we got to do to get the numbers back up? I mean, we John and I talk about this. Grand Haven didn't even have a JV football team 3 years ago.
Well, that's a great question. And first of all, in order to get young high school students to listen to you, you have to be around them so they respect you.
Right.
So I give kudos to the teachers and coaches that are in the trenches every day, making a difference in these young kids' lives. And that then it goes right to the leadership of these programs. They have to be doing a good job building relationships with the kids to get the kids to come out. And granted, football took a couple of hits there with the injuries and stuff, but I know the value of any athlete playing the game of football, and they might not be a football star, but just practicing with pads on and pushing your body to the limits with teammates and learning how to get together with everybody will help them in any other sport and in life. And yeah, you can get hurt walking down the street or riding your bike. You can get hurt playing soccer. You can get hurt playing basketball. So the hurt thing, it's real, and I know people have been hurt seriously. But I think the things you learn out of this game are far outweigh them.
And see, when we grew up, not Scott, you're still in that mold phase there, but us three, when you look back in high school, we had probably more than 75% of our school's sports that were offered, the coaches were in the building.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
And now that's flipped. 75% no longer in the building. They're coming in from out of school, and they inherit the problems of the 7 hours before they can go on the problems of the 7 hours before they go to practice.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if the percentages are that high without out of school, maybe assistant coaches, but a lot of the head coaches are in schools.
They are. I did the research, Gary.
Okay. Good. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not saying I'm disagreeing with you, but I totally agree. I totally agree. The more you're in school, the more relationships you're going to build.
Absolutely.
And the more kids you're going to get out, and the more kids you can talk to, and begin to know what they're struggling with. And if they learn you really care, they don't care what sport it is, they'll come out for you.
Right.
Wrestling or basketball or cross country, if they know you care about them, and hey, why don't you come out and try the track team? They're going to come out if that happens.
I mean, when you look at, okay, a guy like even Reeves as your position coach in the NFL, and a guy like Herb Duramity, how important is it for you as the leader of the offensive unit, okay, to be able to have those guys approachable? Hold it, I want to talk to you about some things here. I got a couple questions, I got a couple ideas. Is that a pretty important piece to the puzzle too? Is having a coach, whether it's a head coach or a position coach, that is approachable?
Oh, there's no doubt. I believe firmly that you never stop learning. I don't care how old you are. I want to learn something new every day. And as a head football coach, if you're going to get the most out of your players, you have to feel the same way. I mean, obviously, you have to be in a position of leadership and know exactly what's going on. But I guarantee you, the great coaches are learning every day, just like all of us. And once you stop learning, you start dying. And so every day, I hope I learn something new.
Well, CMU, Hall of Fame. How'd that feel?
Oh, it was awesome. I had a great 4 years at Central. I have a ton of respect for a lot of people that made a difference in my life up there. And being part of the Hall of Fame at Central was a great honor, and I feel extremely blessed.
Were your parents able to be at that?
My parents were at that, absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes.
And how proud were they?
They were proud. They loved going to every game. They supported me every game, everywhere we went.
Well, and I remember you in that speech saying, "I'd like to thank Western Michigan University for making this possible."
I just want to say, I'm sorry you couldn't get into Central. but Western's a good university.
A GED is just not going to get me in there.
We'll take a quick break on that note, come back and bring it home.
Me.
We'll be back after this.
Me.
Hello, this is Dmitry, the Russian hacker. Please disregard the following message from CatchMark Technologies. It will make my life easier. Thank you.
If you own a business today, that business is exposed to digital risk. Data privacy, compliance, and of course, cyber attack risks are just a few that you may need to manage. If you don't have the staff or internal expertise to help mitigate risks your organization faces, call CatchMark Technologies at 616-384-4616.
I want to thank the good folks here for providing a home for us, also VanDyk Mortgage and Shepherd & Shepherd. Scott?
Yeah, Gary, I wanted to ask you more about Sport House and what exactly are the offerings that you guys have there? If there are people out there listening to the show,
Sure.
watching the show, and they're interested in maybe getting some training or whatever it is, what are the things you guys offer?
Sure. We're a large facility. We're 150,000 square feet of all fitness. We've got a massive cardio room, massive weight room, 5 full court basketball, 7 full court volleyball, 16 pickleball courts. That's gigantic now. And then we have a dome that we just put in, new AstroTurf that we're having football leagues in and soccer. And then we also own the Shoreline Soccer behind us that is all full-time soccer and lacrosse. And so we offer a little of everything. We have basketball leagues from 3rd grade through 8th grade. We have flag football teams from 3rd to 8th grade. And then we are just starting now a new high school 7-on-7 league. And we have an adult football league that is going on. We have an adult volleyball co-ed league that's going on right now. We run volleyball tournaments on the weekends. We have futsal tournament coming in, which is an off-season training of soccer, which is gigantic. So yeah, we're trying to be a total facility that offers all different kinds of things to kids and adults, where they can come in, enjoy sports, and also get in shape and help them out.
Can people stop in and take a look at the place?
Absolutely, we give tours every day. And we just put in a brand new elite training fitness room for athletes and adults. We have all Sorenex equipment that the NFL and all the major colleges use, and just trying to give opportunities to become bigger, faster, stronger, quicker for young athletes, and for adults to lead a healthy life and feel better about themselves every day.
Was this always part of the vision, or did it grow more quickly than you guys even anticipated?
When we first looked at the facility, Jake is highly respect him as a businessman. His head just started turning, and he just said, we can offer this and this and this. And day one, we built the basketball courts. We ordered the lumber to put all that stuff in, and we definitely love basketball, and we love football, and soccer and volleyball and all that stuff. So yeah, it was something that we saw, but as we, it was right in the middle of COVID. We bought it the day the governor opened up gyms. So it's been a wild ride, believe me.
And then how much of a game changer could for instance, the 7-on-7 be? Because as it stands now, a lot of kids, even in this area, have to go to the other side of the state to different places to train indoors, and have 7-on-7s. But what can your place offer? Maybe that, guys, you don't have to travel across the state to do that anymore.
Absolutely. We've got 4 high school teams already signed up, and we're talking to more. And they usually go over to the east side of the state in Brighton or Wixom to play. And we're trying to give them an opportunity to become better and get some pass routes and get some training in the off season, and be a little safer, not traveling all the way across the state. And as you guys know, we have some phenomenal teams and some phenomenal athletes over here. And with the facilities we have there, I feel it will just help them become better athletes. They can work with their team a little more, and still do multiple sports. I mean, we're just going to be playing the 7-on-7 football league on a Saturday or Sunday, so they can still participate in all their other sports. Just like during football, when I coached football, we didn't care if a kid shot baskets. If that's their passion, let them do more than just play your one sport. And if all the high school coaches and all the youth coaches would let their kids experience multiple things, I think they would all become better athletes. I know for a fact that when colleges recruit and when the pro, they like to see a well-rounded athlete, just because mentally they're stronger.
Yeah, they're just competitors, right?
Yeah.
You learn how to truly compete when you're immersed in those different situations.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm not a one sport guy. I'm a multiple sport guy, because you learn so much from different sports.
Well, I would think the hospitals, everybody would jump on board.
Yeah.
Rehab situations, and elderly having a place inside to walk, and it's endless, the opportunities there that the facility provides.
Yeah, and so anybody wants to come down and visit the sport house, we give tours and they can see what they have.
And you're located where? I know you're located in Norton Shores, but just for a visual, obviously they can go online probably. This might be the easiest way, right?
We're on Facebook, we're online, Sport House Athletic Center. We're right off of Honolulu and 31, Judson Road. We're right on the west side of the highway. You see us when you go by.
It's a mobile unit, that, like a MASH, they fold it up. And, we're going to be over in, we'll be up in Hesperia in 2 weeks, and
Yeah, really.
Fantastic.
Or take it up to the Taylor Sledding Hill.
Yeah.
Exactly. Admission's free up there. You pay to get out.
Yeah. As we wrap up here, Gary, got to ask you a football question in terms of the playoffs here. Obviously, your Cowboys are not going to do anything there.
No, they're not.
What are you thinking? What's the best of the rest?
Well, so I'm a big Josh Allen fan.
Okay.
I used to have a ranch out in Wyoming, so I kind of started watching him out at the University of Wyoming. And so I'm going to pick Buffalo over Kansas City. Even though I love Kansas City and I like Andy Reid and I love their team, I just think Josh has got something going in Buffalo right now. And then, out of I think Green Bay's just too tough. I just think they're too tough. And, obviously the other games, let's see who the Titans are playing.
I'm not sure who they got. I'm not sure. I know that the Rams and and Brady's team play in Tampa Bay.
Rams
yeah,
and the
Rams
Bucs
and
are
Tampa Bay.
playing.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Tampa Bay.
Okay.
Just because Brady's just too good. Even though I'd like to see Stafford, I mean, got to like him.
Cincinnati and the Titans.
Cincinnati Titans.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it just depends if their running back plays.
Right.
I mean, that dude can get it done.
What quarterback in the NFL during this playoff do you think has the most to gain? When you look at the teams left right now, what quarterback
Most to gain?
Yeah, has the most to gain.
I think Josh Allen. He's young. He hasn't been there. If he pulls them through a Super Bowl,
He's really changed in the last 7 games.
Yeah, he's 6'4", 240 with a neck like Nitschke.
Hope he doesn't have the mentality of Nitschke.
Yeah. But hey, Burrow, if he wins it all, he's got a lot to gain too.
Right.
And Stafford.
Yeah.
Stafford. He's been in Detroit for a long time.
Yeah.
Any win's going to be great for him.
Got his first playoff win.
Boy,
That's right.
When he hangs it up, he's going to be sore.
Yeah.
He's gonna be, and the other thing too, I just real quick, because you've done so much and you've accomplished so much, Gary, in your life, and you've touched a lot of people's lives in a positive way. What's on your bucket list? Okay, the next 10 years, this is what I see. I want to get accomplished. I want to do.
Yeah, my bucket list. I love going up in the mountains by myself and or with my dog or my family. And just being in remote places, that's one thing I love doing. I want to spend a lot of time with my family, my grandkids, because they're all starting to get into everything and they're all maturing. I would say I don't have a lot of places I want to go. It's the people that I like being with and experiencing whatever it is.
Right.
And that's my biggest bucket list, is just to the relationships and the people you meet, and it's a nice feeling. You look at your grandkids right now, you see any of your character traits in any of your grandkids? I've got a couple of grandkids that are type A. Yeah.
We know what that means.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
you know what? It's great to see with my own kids and your guys. Every kid's different.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they're brother and sister. They're all different. They all have pluses. They all have to work on things. And just to watch them grow and to mature and to become, people in the community that help out and help people and work hard is a great feeling.
Fantastic.
Give us one funny story from a huddle. Let me tell you what happened here.
Gosh. From the huddle?
Yeah.
There's not a lot of stories from the huddle that
Or
that
after the
that I
play.
could say. Here. Offensive linemen are probably the biggest characters in the world. And my roommates for the Dallas Cowboys were Pat Donovan, Kurt Peterson, and Tom Rafferty, all offensive linemen, and all phenomenal players and great guys. And, so I was rooming with them before I started, and then I was rooming with them when I got the starting job. And, when you walk in the huddle and you take command of the huddle and you look at your center, who's Tom Rafferty, and he said, well, it's about damn time you got in here. There's always some ribbon and there's always some fun times along with all the hard work. So it's just a fun game.
Toughest defensive player you had to line up across from?
Lawrence Taylor.
A different animal, isn't he?
He was a different dude. Yeah.
Was he talking?
He didn't do a whole lot of talking. He was just full bore, crazy.
What a motor.
Oh, just and tough. So, but I could go on. Reggie White, I could go on and on and on.
Yeah.
How about a guy like Randy White? What was his
Randy
temperament like?
Randy White, the Manster, was his nickname. Great guy. Loved going fishing with him in East Texas with a bunch of other guys. But just a hard-working,
Love the game of football.
Love football, stronger than an ox, biggest forearms I've ever seen, fast. Yeah, he was really, really good.
And what player did you not want to be out with after 2 o'clock in the morning?
Jeez, I never stayed up that late. Oh no, you had a good time when you had a day off. We used to go to Thousand Oaks, California for 5 weeks every summer for training camp, and you'd have a night off, and the coach just had to say, "Hey, you guys, be careful."
Oh yeah.
You'd go down to Malibu or someplace, and it was fun times, and thank goodness everybody made it home safe.
Aren't you glad you weren't in the Raiders training camp out there?
So in closing, what was tougher, having Lawrence Taylor down your neck or taking just question after question from that guy over there?
No, hey, you guys are doing a great job. I really appreciate you having me on, and North Grove is an awesome spot. I wish you guys all the success in the world, and have a great rest of your season.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Gary Hogeboom, everybody. That's going to do it for us for another week. It's a wrap, and we'll put it away for another week here at North Grove Brewer. I want to thank those folks along with VanDyk Mortgage and Shepherd & Shepherd. Have yourself a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
VanDyk Mortgage, we started 1987, July of 1987. The company was founded here in Grand Rapids, Michigan. We recruited Mario in to join our company as one of our branches to serve the Muskegon community. He has grown to 5 locations, serving people up and down the lake shore.
A lot of companies, they're sometimes in it more for themselves and closing that deal for just the monetary reward. And I think with Mario and his company, it's not just that, and I don't know if that always happens in our world.